shorebird. And so during this presentation, at the end, we'll have a very short discussion, but watch out. What are the common characteristics of the park I'm going to show you today? There's several characteristics, and so just sort of keep an eye on those. This one's a pectoral sandpiper. You can see the streaking goes all the way down onto the belly almost. And Tim was out looking for one today at Ankeny. They should be showing up anytime. But some of the birds that are coming in, most of them you can see are like the cackling geese will be coming back, the sandpipers, and some of these, like the merlin, for example, well, they're year round, but they seem to show up more this time of year. The ruby-crowned kinglets are coming down from the mountains and the hillsides. But the shorebirds are the big thing that they're really starting to come in. As Tim said, he saw 115 greater yellowlegs today at Ankeny. That's just unreal. We're starting to see dowitchers, least western sandpipers. Hopefully a bared sandpiper will come around soon. So let's get started. The first one is a local Salem park, WOODMANSEE Park. It's a community park in South Salem. It's right next to Judson Middle School. It's a 30-acre park with walking trails. Tim and I were really impressed with this park. We went and took a good look around it, and it has some nice trees, and the west fork of the Pringle Creek runs through the park. It's nice forested with some Oregon white oaks and some Douglas fir. But we'll get into some of those a little later. Here's some of the things that you could see there. Now you'll notice that the checklist says 0. Well, that's because this park wasn't a hot spot. So now I'm hoping it's a hot spot. I sent it in and requested it to be a hot spot. So hopefully it will come through here anytime. But one of the things that we're very shocked to see sort of was we saw a western bluebird there and really didn't expect it. Normally they need a little bit more territory and stuff to breed. So if we're coming to get there, we're coming from downtown Salem, going south on Commercial. We'll go all the way down to where it splits off with Sunnyside here. Come down, and then you'll come down to this Kegler's Lane and take a right turn, and that takes you into the park. I like to park down in the very last parking lot because that's where a lot of the nice walking trails are. There's a tennis court down here that we saw the bluebird at on the fence. So it's pretty easy to get to. Here it is, an aerial view of it. Here's Sunnyside. Here's that Kegler's Lane that you come in on. Come in. Here's a tennis court right on the edge. Here is where we saw the western bluebird sitting up here. You can come in and go to the far back parking lot here, and you'll see this big grove of trees. The creek runs right through here. They're starting to do some improvements here at the park, and so it's even going to be better here in a couple of years. But here you can see behind it is Judson Middle School. It's in a residential neighborhood, but a larger park and larger than some of the other parks we discussed. I have next, I believe, in what they call a neighborhood park, where this is a community park. A neighborhood park is just one inside the neighborhood that's pretty small and doesn't cater to a whole section of the community usually. Here's the master plan. They just new master plan for WOODMANSEE Park, and they're going to do a lot of improvements, including a well building. As you can see here, here's where Pringle Creek comes right through the park. There's going to be an outdoor classroom. There is, but they're going to improve it. There's some nice trails all along through here. You can walk along the edge over here, but lots of nice trails. We also walked here and along this edge here next to the neighborhood. Saw a few things over there on the edge, then came across here, across the existing bridge and back into here and around the circle here back to the parking lot. But we were overall really impressed with the park, and it does have the nature area, and actually here it says they're going to be doing a nature area restoration too, and trying to improve some of the areas and get rid of some of the weeds and the other things, non-natives. Here you can see one of the paths. Has a few open fields. Here's the outdoor education area here, the way it is now. They will be making some improvements. By the way, that restoration project in the master plan just got started here mid-2021 and will probably go on for a couple of years. But the park includes these lush wooded areas, grass, meadow, and of course a riparian area with a creek here running through it. Here's some of the birds you could see. Nuthatches. Now, we didn't see a raven with a wolf there, but we did see hear a raven down there. The nuthatches, there were quite a few nuthatches. One thing I liked about all these Salem parks when I was studying them and to make this presentation, I was looking at a lot of the studies that the city of Salem had done, and I was pretty impressed with the people of Salem that the thing they liked best about the city park were the places to walk and explore nature areas and habitat. 89.7% of the people said they like to explore natural areas and habitat like that. And they wanted the city of Salem to keep that. I mean, that's just amazing, that percentage of people. So I was really happy to hear that. Next one we're going to do is Clark Creek Park. Obviously, this picture wasn't taken the other day. This is in the winter there at Clark Creek Park. It's a neighborhood park also in South Salem, just off Vista Avenue. It's small, it's 6.8 acres, but it does have some nice walking trails. Believe it or not, I couldn't believe it, but this park was rated #2 in popularity out of 23 Salem parks. I think Minto Brand was the #1 park, but some call it a hidden gem, and they're focused on nature preservation here. And Clark Creek runs right through the park, how it gets its name. It's mainly Douglas fir for the most part. Here's the birds that you could see. I think one of our leaders, field trip leaders, lives close by, Harry Fuller, because he has most of the checklist here at this park. And in fact, he's seen all 44 species there. And there's only 5 species in September. Well, why would I put this down as a good place to go birding? Well, it's just a good overall place, and we need more people to go there because I'm sure there's more than 5 species there in September. And so if you get there, make your eBird list and keep your eyes and ears out. So how you get to it, the easiest way to me, when you go down Vista, it comes right out by the park, but there isn't much parking here. It's a residential area. I come down here further to commercial. Turn on now down south here is like the Fred Meyer. But you turn down Ratliff Drive, come down here, and when it makes a big turn to some apartments right in here, it makes a big left turn, come around, make a right turn. Here's a park, and there's a little parking lot here, which I'll show you in the overview in a second. And there's also a couple parking spots right here. So since it's a neighborhood park, it doesn't have tons of parking. Probably wouldn't have a field trip here because the parking just isn't there. Here you can see it from above. Here's where the creek flows through. And the little parking lot is down here. It only has about 4 or 6 spaces. But Tim and I didn't have any problem. I mean, it was a nice place. It didn't overwhelm us like WOODMANSEE Park, but it was a nice little neighborhood park and worth a trip there. Here you can see a nice bridge going over the creek. Some nice deciduous trees. Here's a bridge that's over by Vista Avenue. You have some open areas and edges of trees. Some of the birds you might see there. There are some breeding birds there, supposedly. But the Stellar jay, the flickers, pretty much a lot of your common birds that you can see there. The next one we'll go to is the Bob and Pat STRAUB Nature Park, just STRAUB Nature Park. It's in West Salem. It's a 10-acre nature park and mostly undeveloped, and they've purposely left it undeveloped. Like downtown Salem's 158 feet elevation, so this park is about 282 feet in elevation. And you can see it has quite a bit of parking for people. There's a parking lot, I'd say could probably hold 20 cars. Here's one of the trails that you're walking through, and you've got some overhang here. And it's pretty much a circular walk, a loop trail, as long as you don't do what Tim and I did and go off all these side trails and have to do bushwhacking. Here you can see some of the tall trees there. Quite a few checklists for this nature park. 224, 93 species. But the normal things you'd expect in a forested type area, the chickadees, nuthatches, woodpeckers. There's been black-throated gray warblers and, of course, band-tailed pigeons. During the summer, Pacific slope flycatcher. So how you get to this one, there's a couple ways you could approach it. You could come down, over here is Wallace Road over here, and you could come down Oaks Ferry Road, come down here, and then if you came from that direction, it would be on your left-hand side, and the parking lot's about here. Another way you could come off of Wallace Road and take Orchard Heights Road, come up all the way to Oaks Ferry Road, come down, and the parking lot would be on your right. Now, in some of the websites on this park, it says to take this Wilmington Avenue. I would advise against that. When Tim and I drove by here, we didn't see any entrances to the park on this side. The main place was right here with the big parking lot. There's another park that I just took a quick glance at, Orchard Heights Park. And it was an okay park. and had some trees and not too many walking paths. It was another neighborhood park. But I'll show you a better one that's just as down the road here from STRAUB Park when we get done here. Here you can see it from above. The parking lot, I believe, is right up here or right in here. But you can see STRAUB Middle School here and the elementary school behind it. Trail takes off, and you can sort of see part of it here and loops way around, and I believe it comes out way down here. It was a very nice walk and probably our second favorite out of the day. Here you can see some of the trails. Nice, fairly flat trail when you stay on the main trail, and just a nice loop around, probably a half a mile to 3/4 of a mile. Here you can see a bird up in the tree here. Some more photos of the trails. And it seemed pretty safe around there. Some of the things you could see. Hunting burial was reported there just a few days before we got there. In the winter, we should have buried thrush, fan-tailed pigeons come through. And like Tim said, sure enough, we're coming into September. Here's the fox sparrow that will start appearing. Maybe even a Townsend's warbler. They've been reported up there. So there are definitely some good birds there. The next one we'll talk about is Brush College Park. Now it's a 8.84 acre neighborhood park in West Salem, just off Dokes Ferry Road. I'll explain how to get there when I show you the map. But it's just across the street from Brush College Elementary School. It's usually not too busy, this park, and it has a couple of unpaved trails. You can see one here with a bridge. Gibson Creek runs through the park. 182 lists were there, 77 total species seen. You notice since so many of these are forested, the nuthatches are there and the chickadees again and some woodpeckers. So it has some nice trails too. You can go up the steps. There's some steps after you go through the bridge and you walk up along the edge along the main sidewalk along Dokes Ferry Road. Actually, it would be Brush College Road. So here's Wallace Road coming out from the bridge in downtown Salem. You're going out west on Wallace Road. Take a left on Brush College Road. Go up to Dokes Ferry Road and turn right. And it's a little hidden, the driveway, but you just barely turn right. The driveway is right here. It's doesn't have any sign or anything. It's just sort of right there, and there it is. It's a narrow driveway at first and widens out a little at the bottom. But there's a parking lot for about 20 vehicles. Now, if you're going, once I normally come out to this park first, since it's the furthest one out, and then once I'm done here, I just go right out Dokes Ferry Road, and then right up here is where that STRAUB Nature Park is. And you can hit that, and if you go up a little further, you can cut across and go to Orchard Heights Park if you want, and it makes a nice little round. Here you can see it from above. the driveway is someplace right in here. You can sort of see it start to come down through here, but you can't even see it. You barely make the turn in, and right here it is. And then it comes down to this parking lot here. But you can walk through here, and then there, over here, there's a bridge over the creek. There's a stairwell over here, and you can walk up. Sometimes I like to walk up here and go up to this one house and just walk down the edges here. We've seen quite a few birds here, this nice little edge. Then I go back down and I walk around some of the trails through here next to the river, come back out to the parking lot, and then there is a little open area here. It doesn't look too open now, but this is fairly open here. And I walk around the edges. Once you get out here, there's some residences around the edge here, and there's some nice edges that you can walk around here too, that we've seen things. Then there's a little wetland in here too. You'll see some signs. I'll show you the signs here in a second. So here's what some of the trails look like. This is the entry to go near the bridge. The middle one winds through the area near the creek. There's the steps I was talking about that you can go up and get onto the main sidewalk on Brush College Road and walk up here and walk along this nice edge up there. In fact, here's the edge here that you would be walking by. Here's one of the little open areas. They took down a few trees because of the ice storm. Here's the wetland area. It's a little dry right now. Here's some of the open area in the grassland. And during the winter, it can get a little mushy in here. It doesn't drain off real well. I know during the Christmas bird count, this is one of my areas, and it can get a little sloppy in there. Here's a little video on the wet. And here you can see the road coming down into the park. You can barely see it. It comes down and comes down here into the parking lot. But yeah, the video shows this wetland here, and during the winter, filled with sparrows. And here's some of the things you can see down there. Seen red-tailed hawks, sharp-shinned hawks fly through. Doves. Yeah, a nice place to see hairy woodpeckers. So our next one is our further afield, and I'm going to talk about SAUVIE Island Wildlife Area. Here you can see one of the swampy marsh areas. It's about 58 miles from Salem. It takes about an hour and 15 minutes to get there. The wildlife area is over 11,000 acres. It's mainly state-owned habitat for wintering waterfowl. There's swans, sandhill cranes, that's known for sandhill cranes in the winter, bald eagles, over 250 species here. So the western, or I guess they call it the northern part of the island, is mainly the state land with the wildlife area. A lot of the south part is farms and private land. Here's some nice views of it. In September, the weather is still very good. Average is 74 to 76 degrees. At night, only gets down to 54 degrees on average, only about a half an inch of rain during the whole month of September, so you don't have to worry about getting too wet. Now, one thing is that there is a wildlife permit required to visit here. We'll get into that in a little bit. There are a lot of hotspots here, approximately 30 birding hotspots. You can see them all by the color, tells how many. The orange means there's quite a few species that have been seen there. I think the light blue ones are the ones with the least number of species. And these sort of have a middle number of species. But you can see it's right across the river from Vancouver and Salmon Creek in northern Vancouver. Also right up here is the other wildlife refuge up in Washington, Ridgefield National Wildlife Refuge. Oops, went the wrong way. Here we go. So the best way to get here, just go up I-5, follow the signs to St. Helens, Highway 30 that takes you to Astoria. Take Highway 30 west, and then you'll come out here to the SAUVIE Island Bridge. Turn right there, and then this will take you into the SAUVIE Island and the wildlife area. As you can see, the southern part here, mainly farms and private land. Up here further north is where the wildlife area and the state-owned land is. You can spend a lot of time here because there's a lot of area to cover, as you'll see. But some of the areas you have to be careful because some of the areas are open only May 1st until September 30th. So we basically have one more month for some of the areas here. So what I do is when I cross the bridge here, I stay to the left and turn this way and go out SAUVIE Island Road and then come out here and go out this way. I'll show you a little bit later how to get to certain ones of these different hotspots. But when you turn here, wildlife headquarters is right up here, only about a quarter of a mile. There's also two stores here, the Cracker Barrel store, and there's an RV store right around the same area. That's where you can purchase the wildlife permits if you don't have one. It's $10 a day, or I just buy an annual one because it's only $30 for the annual one, and it gets you into 20 different wildlife areas around Oregon, including E.E. Wilson near Adair Village, past Monmouth, and quite a few other ones. Also like Fern Ridge down in Eugene is another one that's good for. So there's quite a few nice places you can use a permit to visit. Nice view of Mount Hood from Sturgeon Lake. Here's the Multnomah Channel that flows through the refuge. And here's a map of the refuge. So you can sort of see a nice overview. Down here is where the bridge is, where you turn off Highway 30. Now, most of this area down here is all the private area and the farms. And up here is the area for the birding and the wildlife area. You'll notice that it's divided, Multnomah County and Columbia County. So you can be in two counties. So the first one I do is I come off the bridge here, turn left onto SAUVIE Island Road, then I turn right on Reeder Road. Now, Reeder Road has a lot of things on it. It's a very long road. As you can tell, you can see here's the start of Reeder Road here, and it keeps going all the way back to very far stretches of the wildlife area. So I just start there, and the first thing I do is turn left here on Oak Island Road and go up to about here and visit the Oak Island area. So let's go here to, I just gave an overview of this is Reeder Road in general, their list. You can see quite a few lists here and 164 species. Then we come to the Oak Island area. It's one of the best areas, 203 species. I'll send some of these directions out to you because it can get a little complicated. You drive past this one fork, past the dike, and you turn left, and there's a nice 2-mile loop trail that you can walk along fields in the oak forest here, which is really nice. Also, you can go online. I believe at the end of the presentation, I have some resources. And I did send you a few resources. Next, let's go back to here. After seeing this area just past milepost 3 is where this loop trail is. Come back out here to Reeder Road. You keep going out. And it's right here, number 18 is called COON Point here. That's the next area that we'd stop at. And if you just bring a copy of this map with you, point 18 is COON Point. And so it's open year round and hiking's permitted during the summer months. You can look for swans, waterfowl, and a lot of raptors here in this area. It's really good during the winter, good winter stop, especially since it's open year round. So this is also where you can see the sandhill cranes, phalaropes, terns will come in there. Here's a raccoon point. So that's number 18, sandhill crane again. A lot of sandhill cranes all around. Lincoln sparrows will be coming back. People have seen Wimberl. And 195 species, look at this, 137 during September. So about 2/3 of the species you can see during the month of September. Next is the SAUVIE Island Wildlife Viewing Area platform. So let's see, we continue along Reeder Road here and come along to number 26 here. And this is where the platform is, overlooking Sturgeon Lake, and it's near just beyond milepost 7 here along Reeder Road. It's nice because they do have mileposts here. Here's milepost 5, 6, here's 7. Just past number 7 is this platform. It's on the left-hand side, just past the trailer park. It is open all year round. It's a great area for looking for ducks, geese, and raptors in winter. Check out the sky too. You can see raptors in this area also. So that's the platform, 79 species. Snow goose, a nice one to see. Marble godwit, even a Hudsonian godwit some years ago. So definitely some nice birds you can see from here. Rentner Road. This is, you hear a lot of people when they talk about SAUVIE Island. Rentner Road is a key hotspot, and you find a lot of rarities here sometimes. So it's a great place too. Let's get back to the map here. The nice thing about this route is you mainly stay on Reader Road or just off Reader Road. So you can just sort of continue along here. It's hard to get lost. You just keep coming way out here to milepost 10, and here's Rentner Road right here. It's a gravel road located about 10 miles from where you started. It's open year round, but the trails at the end of the road are only open from May 1st to September 30th. And it's a real good location to see sparrows. So the nice thing, each area is just slightly different, although it's in the same wildlife area, but sandhill cranes are down here in this area, bald eagles, hawks. Then about that point, by that time you're probably a little tired, and so you can start heading back. Just take Reader Road and follow it all the way back to SAUVIE Island Road. If time permits, there's a neat historical house by the Howe House. That's more in the general area down here of the farming area and the community area, but down here off Howe Park Road is this historic house that you can walk the grounds. There we go, my cursor is here down. So just barely when you turn off the bridge here, on your left will be this road and where the historic house is. When walking around grounds, there's slender bill nuthatches there, white-breasted nuthatches. Also, if you had time and wanted to, on your way back, you could always check on this side, the Columbia River side, and there's some little roads and places here that you can pull off and look over the Columbia River. And let's see, okay. Then if you come down here after you're done, there's a lot of little shops and things here. Okay. So the house, check the beaches, osprey. The osprey will be starting to leave, so might not see too many. But then you could always stop at the pumpkin patch when you're done, which is when you come across the bridge, you would turn right instead of left and just go up Gillahan Road a little ways and could go to the pumpkin patch. It is a farm fresh market, a gift shop, there's a cafe there, and a lot more. So we were going to talk about some of these commonalities of these parks. Put in the chat, what do you think some of the commonalities of the parks that we talked about are? And Tim maybe can name them off as they're putting something down. See if I...
Yeah, I'm not seeing any responses yet, Mike.
Okay, so here we go.
Okay.
There's almost every one of them have forested areas.
Oh, tall trees was one guess by Gretchen. So
okay,
she was on top of that, and Paul suggests trails and woodlands. So there you go again on the forested areas.
And one thing I mentioned in almost every one of them that they have a color of blue.
Susan's guess is riparian areas and open grasslands.
Yes, yep, right. And this is one too, schools were nearby all those city parks. It's sort of interesting, the school nearby, as they said, they have creeks or water.
There's a riparian element.
Right, so there's that. And any other similarities you can think of?
I'm just curious why they're so close to schools. Is that a funding issue, or is that a habitat mitigation, or what is the connection with schools?
Yeah, and I'm not really sure, but I think when they built the schools, they just figured that was a good time to put in some of these things as they were building out the neighborhoods in the area. I haven't found any real answers to that, but also, I guess one of the other similarities, most of the parks are fairly small that we were talking to. They're either community or neighborhood parks versus Minto Brown Park, which is 1,000 acres. So rare bird of the month, the stilt sandpiper. It was seen in 1990 at Coon Point at SAUVIE Island by Hendrik Herlin. He's a very well-known bird down in the Corvallis area. Normally, they only see one sighting of adults every 3 years.
There was one seen yesterday at Fern Ridge.
I know, and Tim stole the thunder. But,
oh, I'm sorry, Mike.
but things are changing, like Tim said. One just seen at Perkins Peninsula Park in Eugene, just there by, like he said, Fern Ridge Reservoir, and also one at Smith Bybee Lakes. So two just in the past week have been seen. Now, I know one of them was a juvenile, but I don't know if the other one was an adult or not. But so keep your eye out. I thought, hey, this is pretty rare because only every 3 years or so. But here, all of a sudden, in the last week, they've seen two. So you just never know what you're going to see. My conservation tip this time is talking about the North American Bird Conservation Initiative. It's dedicated to promoting and advancing integrated bird conservation. And they have a lot of facets of this conservation, but communications to work to engage audiences and people, from policymakers, the industry to the public, the human dimensions of it, integrating the science and tools, and when businesses and people make their decisions and how it affects our environment, even an international role of, our air and water isn't just stagnant, it crosses borders and doesn't know borders. So there's coordination with Canada and Mexico, nice monitoring efforts that are ongoing, lots of technical expertise for improving the monitoring systems and conservation through the bird's full life cycle. There's a legislative and policy area that facilitates communication with government leadership on priorities of rare and endangered birds. Then there's also the private working lands where state and federal lands and agencies are helping non-government people and organizations and private owners facilitate bird conservation on these lands. For example, I just visited a lands today, private land, that they're going to let us go and do some bird surveys and even have a bird walk there if we want to. Silk Creek down by Corvallis, and just took a nice tour of their lands. I mean, it was just amazing habitat there. I counted 5 to 7 habitats there. The owners are very welcoming and wanting us to come in. They're working with a lot of different people, including the Watershed Council, the Greenbelt Alliance, and quite a few people. And one's going to have a conservation easement they're working on doing so that their land will last in perpetuity and those kinds of things. It's just a real exciting time when you have these type of people taking the land and preserving it like this, and it's expensive and time consuming, seeing all the effort that they've put into this. I mean, it's just great. It's also this organization that puts out the State of the Birds report each year. So with that, I'll end. We have some upcoming workshops, the fall shorebirds. I made this a little less intensive than some of my past classes, just focusing on the shorebirds that you would see in the Willamette Valley, Basket Slough, Findlay, Ankeny, so that we can really hone in on those birds, and instead of spending a lot of times on some that you wouldn't see and or very rare chance, and so that we can really get down these birds that we'll be seeing in the Willamette Valley. That's on Sunday the 12th, 1:30. And then we got Where to Go Birding in October on September 30th. I think I see a few things in the chat, so I'll stop sharing.
Susan tried to answer my question about why we see parks near schools, and she was speculating that it may be part of the original land acquisition for public purposes. That's land use law that I don't know hardly anything about.
Yeah, interesting. Jackie says that I've bird at SAUVIE Island for over 15 years and many times during each year and have never seen a western meadowlark. Oh, interesting.
Well, one place you can find western meadowlarks pretty reliably is Ankeny. I was down at Pintail Marsh this morning looking for migrating shorebirds and heard of a western meadowlark. I think you can hear them down there pretty much year round. I don't think they migrate, and they do breed there.
Mm-hmm.
I hear them at the Nature Center all the time. The Nature Center, once we get it open to the public, that's really been delayed by COVID. You can hear 3 special status birds there fairly regularly. The western meadowlark, western bluebirds, and the white-breasted nuthatch are all pretty common birds there at the Nature Center.
Yeah, and another good place for meadowlarks is along Coville Road on your way to Basket Slough National Wildlife Refuge. Those fields there, especially during the spring, have a lot of singing meadowlarks. So that sort of ends up the presentation. Not sure if anybody else has any questions. I really appreciate everybody attending this webinar, and I hope you can get out there and bird some of these areas and e-bird them. And I'll check and see if, in fact, I'm going to check right now and see if there is a e-bird list now for that WOODMANSEE park. Oh, my app is frozen up. So when I send out the information, some of these directions a little better to some of these places in SAUVIE Island, I'll put out a couple other spots where you can see the western meadowlarks and let you know if WOODMANSEE Park is now a hotspot, like I hope it is. So can you think of anything else, Tim?
No. Go down to Ankeny. There's a lot of migrating shorebirds coming through right now. It's really an exciting time and close to home.
Yeah, both Pintail Marsh and Eagle Marsh, and also we've been having a lot of activity at the rail trail. In fact, the other day, one of the people that normally comes on a lot of our trips, Joan, she saw a sparrow down there. I'm trying to, it's a rare sparrow, not a chipping sparrow, but let me think, just like a chipping.
Swamp sparrow?
No, shoot. Just, let me think here. But it was rare, but she got a picture of it, luckily. And our eBird reviewer, Jeff, he did approve the sighting and stuff and said it still could come back as a chipping sparrow, but he was pretty sure. Oh, it was a brewer sparrow.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, a brewer sparrow of all.
Wow.
And which is very rare for here. You can find them in Central Oregon and pretty reliably over by now here in some of the places there, but a brewer sparrow here is very unusual. So check around the rail trail too. They've seen yellow-headed blackbirds there recently and a few other things.
I had a Harris sparrow in my backyard all winter about 3 years ago. And it stayed from its immature plumage until it had its adult plumage. It was there every single day. And then it left.
Wow, that's a treat.
Right when Harry Neal said it would leave. Because I emailed him, I said, could I possibly be seeing this? It's matching every picture in 5 books. And he said yes. And I guess they nest in Canada, but they come down in the Midwest in winter.
And they're very loyal to their winter habitat. So I would not be, you might look for that returning bird this winter because they.
Well, I lived in Portland then, and I looked the following 2 winters, and it didn't show up again. I think it got blown over down somewhere.
But we do have them here in the Salem area during the winter at Waterfront Park. You just walk across the Courtney Bridge there and walk down towards Minto Brown Park. On the left-hand side for several years, we've seen a Harris sparrow there on the left-hand side of the path. And so be looking at your eBird reports that are coming through, and usually it's reported on there and the word gets out on it. And Tim and I have seen it there as Harris sparrow.
Yeah, one wintered there.
Well, thank you for all the information.
Okay, well, thank you. I'll go ahead and happy birding, and we'll see you at the next webinar, hopefully.